This little chunk of metal contains lithium. So does this cell phone and this electric car. The super light metal is a critical component in batteries, the very heart of the world's transition to green energy. This quiet revolution has ignited a global lithium surge, a demand so immense it is expected to reach nearly 2.5 million metric tons by the year 2028. Many are calling it the white gold of the electric age, and nations are now locked in a fierce competition to control its future. For years, one country has dominated this essential market, China. It has become the world's largest lithium processor, controlling a staggering 55% of the market. To fuel its vast lithium supply chain, China needs to secure raw lithium abroad, making risky, major investments in mines across Africa and Latin America. Its ambition is clear: to control 1/3 of the world's raw lithium supply, competing with countries around the globe to feed a growing demand for lithium batteries. Now the race is shifting from mines to molecules, from rock in the ground to chemicals in the drum. Can China lock in the choke point? Can Washington build one from scratch? The next moves will decide who powers the electric century, and who gets left scrambling in the dark. Before lithium ends up in all of those electric vehicles, all of those smartphones, all of those power tools, it first has to be processed. This crucial step happens in specialized refineries, facilities that transform raw lithium compounds into the precise components needed for batteries. And this is where China's strength truly shines. Imagine this. More than half of all the lithium dug out of the ground globally passes through Chinese facilities. After this intensive processing, the mineral either stays in China for further manufacturing or travels to countries like Japan or South Korea to be turned into battery components. These finished batteries are then shipped around the world, powering countless devices and vehicles, including many in the United States. The United States, by contrast, processes very little lithium domestically. For years, it has been reliant on China's lithium processing capabilities. This reliance did not happen by accident. China made significant, strategic investments in its domestic lithium refineries throughout the 2000s, anticipating the coming demand. One expert explains that China started doing this because refining lithium requires a lot of energy, and it is also a somewhat dirty process. China, already a manufacturing powerhouse for many appliances, simply became interested in this sector and grew exceptionally good at it. Furthermore, there was a strong push by the Chinese government to electrify transportation and rapidly scale up electric vehicle production. China currently boasts the largest market for electric cars, accounting for around 60% of global electric car sales. These millions of cars all need lithium batteries, a fact that has relentlessly fueled China's demand for a reliable, secure lithium supply chain. Lithium is incredibly valuable, an essential component in the technologies required to achieve many climate goals and to electrify the world. In China's case, it has simply been a little bit ahead of the curve. To maintain its lead and to continue manufacturing the products it does, China absolutely needs a steady supply of lithium. Despite its formidable processing power, China's supply chain has a significant weak link. Even though it is the world's largest processor, it relies heavily on foreign countries for much of its raw lithium. And crucially, many of these raw lithium suppliers are allies of the United States. Chinese companies do mine some lithium domestically, but this internal supply is not enough to meet its immense demand. The competition for raw lithium within China itself is also intense, driving up prices dramatically. Global lithium prices were about 300% higher in August compared to the beginning of 2021, a clear indicator of the soaring demand. In China, just as is the case all over the world, people discovered that lithium was becoming a very important commodity. Demand for the commodity shot up. When local governments auctioned rights to explore a mine, bidding wars erupted. Thousands of bids were submitted, and prices soared. One recent auction for exploration rights at a lithium site in Sichuan province received over 11,000 bids. Lithium is an abundant mineral globally, but its extraction is often difficult and expensive. Currently, China does not mine a lot of its own lithium. Most of the mining of this critical mineral takes place in Latin America and Australia. This geographic reality exposes Chinese companies to a significant supply chain vulnerability when it comes to securing the raw material. Chinese companies are genuinely worried that many of the countries friendly with the United States might cut off Chinese companies' abilities to invest further in these countries. Recent events confirm these concerns. Australia, the world's largest raw lithium supplier, blocked the sale of a mine to a company with a director holding Chinese citizenship. Canada has similarly ordered 3 Chinese companies to sell their stakes in Canadian mines. These actions highlight a growing strategic competition over critical minerals. Faced with these restrictions from traditional suppliers, China is adapting its strategy. It is now turning to countries in Africa and Latin America for riskier raw lithium investments. In the past 2 years alone, Chinese companies have spent $4.5 billion on stakes in nearly 20 African and Latin American lithium mines. This aggressive expansion into new territories is a direct response to perceived vulnerabilities. However, this strategy to go to developing countries is not without its own set of risks. Many of these nations have somewhat unstable political regimes. They are also quite underdeveloped when it comes to infrastructure. To mine and process minerals effectively, a country needs reliable roads, consistent power, and robust facilities. These are often lacking in the very regions China is now targeting. Furthermore, many nations are tightening control over their own mineral resources. In December, Zimbabwe, for example, banned the export of raw lithium, instead forcing companies to process it within the country. This is part of a broader trend known as resource nationalism. Many developing countries are realizing that selling raw products generates less money than if they develop a value-added industry around those resources. If they process lithium, and perhaps even one day produce their own batteries, that is where a lot of the money is made. It also presents an opportunity to upscale their labor force. However, this is obviously easier said than done. In Latin America, Mexico and Chile are also tightening control over their lithium resources. Adding another layer of complexity, Chile, Bolivia, and Argentina are actively discussing the creation of a lithium cartel, an organization that could collectively control prices and supply, much like OPEC does for oil. These developing countries bring their own unique risks. Chinese companies are concerned that United States allied countries could limit their access to lithium. Some experts, however, offer a different perspective. They disagree that China is truly vulnerable to United States allies restricting their raw lithium. They argue that China's investments in Latin America and Africa are actually paving the path for a stronger, more diversified supply chain in the future. For many of these countries that possess lithium, China is a very good customer because it has a steady demand for the mineral. China does not just buy lithium for lithium's sake, it buys it because it needs it for its products. This provides a clear signal that China will be there tomorrow and the day after tomorrow, offering a lot of stability in terms of the money and revenue these countries can expect. While they may not always get the absolute highest price, they get a very steady price, and that can be very reassuring for developing economies. While China was making strategic investments and expanding its global reach, lithium mining in the United States largely died out in the 20th century. American companies found cheaper methods to harvest lithium from vast salt lakes in South America, making domestic extraction economically uncompetitive. And because there was no mining, lithium refining also left the United States. This historical context explains the current reliance on foreign supply chains. Now, however, the United States is determined to secure its own supply chain, to reduce its reliance on China and build a resilient domestic industry. It has a long way to go, but significant efforts are underway. Propelled by the Inflation Reduction Act and a growing demand for green energy sources, the United States is increasing its efforts to tap into its own lithium deposits and construct domestic lithium refineries. The Inflation Reduction Act, a landmark piece of legislation, offers tax credits and green energy subsidies that discount the cost of producing lithium by 10%. This significant financial incentive is designed to entice companies to make American lithium investments, shifting the economic calculus in favor of domestic production. One of the most promising developments is ExxonMobil's plan to enter the lithium market. The company intends to build one of the world's largest lithium processing facilities in Arkansas. When completed, analysts predict this single facility could produce between 75,000 to 100,000 metric tons of lithium a year. To put that into perspective, that would add up to 15% of all finished lithium product globally. This represents a monumental step towards re-establishing American processing capabilities. However, there is a catch. Many of these ambitious lithium extraction plants and processing facilities have not been built yet. The journey from planning to production is long and complex. Consider one upcoming mine owned by Lithium Americas, which contains one of the largest known lithium sources in the United States. Lithium Americas informed the Wall Street Journal that, besides one other small operational mine, its project is the only one in North America that is both permitted and under construction. This project, known as Thacker Pass, has been in the works for a remarkable 16 years and still has another estimated 3 years of construction to go before it can begin full operation. This timeline underscores the immense challenges and timeframes involved in developing new, large-scale mining and processing infrastructure. Lithium is an essential metal for many of the technologies required for the decarbonization of the world. Every country wants to get hold of lithium so that they can build those technologies, power their economies, and secure their energy future. The race for white gold is not just an economic competition, it is a strategic imperative. China's early investments and processing dominance have given it a significant lead, but its reliance on foreign raw materials presents a vulnerability. The United States, having fallen behind, is now investing billions, leveraging legislation, and encouraging major corporations to build a robust domestic supply chain from the ground up. The path ahead for the United States is challenging, marked by long construction times and the complexities of establishing new industries. Yet, the stakes are incredibly high. The nation that controls the lithium supply chain will hold a powerful key to the global green energy revolution and the electrified world of tomorrow. This is not merely about mining a metal, it is about forging the future.